IELTS Cast, Episode 22.
You're listening to IELTS Cast, the podcast to put you in touch with successful IELTS candidates from around the world. Listen and learn as they explain how they achieved Band 7, 8 and even 9. Now, here's your host, Ryan.
Hello and welcome to IELTS Cast. My name is Ryan, and today I'm speaking with Vita, an IELTS student from Russia, from Moscow, Russia, who took the exam recently in Moscow and scored an overall band of 8 with band 8.5 in listening, band 9 in reading, perfect band 9, band 8 in writing, and band 7 in speaking. And Vita's been kind enough to share a bit of time with us today and explain how she did it. And in her email to me, she also iterated that she prepared for the IELTS within a week. Within 1 week. So she's going to share the story with us. Hi, Vita. Welcome to IELTS Cast.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks again for giving me this possibility to share my experience, and I hope it might be useful for other students with the same experience as I have, probably for just of interest for everyone else.
I'm sure it will be. So you have a very unique sort of story. You say that you prepared within a week. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Oh, yes, that's right. Actually, I learned that I needed to pass TOEFL or IELTS for my application to the university. And it was a very short deadline, so the only possibility to pass some exam was in a week after I learned that I needed to do it. So I asked my friends if anyone had passed any exam recently, and I remembered my friend who did it probably a year ago, and she also didn't have much time for preparation, but she passed it okay to get her a job in Australia, so I thought that IELTS might be a good decision for me, so I started my preparation.
I see. So that's very interesting. So basically, your reasoning for choosing the IELTS was simply because you spoke to somebody by chance that had taken the IELTS prior.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So I'm sure now everybody's curious. You have a week to prepare for this examination, and you walk out with a band 8. So why don't you tell us a little bit about between the moment when you spoke to your friend and you decided that you're going to take the IELTS and the moment that you stepped into the examination room, what was that period like? What did you do during that week?
Well, first of all, I decided to look up the exam itself to understand its parts and probably some strategies for preparation or for taking it, so after that I understood what were my so to say stronger points or weaker, and where I was more comfortable or less, so I decided to practice more, not really practice, but analyze more writing part than reading and listening and speaking. So to say, I didn't prepare for speaking at all because I didn't have much opportunity, and I decided that probably if my score would have been lower, it was still okay if I had better scores in other parts. I took some mock tests for listening and reading parts on my first day of preparation, and I understood that they were pretty clear for me, and I made probably just a couple of mistakes in each part, so I decided that I would just look up some tips and tricks for taking those parts, but I won't consecrate much time to them. And so my less comfortable part was essay, because it's a long time since I studied at the university and had a chance to write something like that. So especially graphs, because I took academic exam, and my decision was to understand what were the types of essays and what were the requirements. So that's what I did in the following days. I looked up kinds of and types of essays and just copied them by hand and analyzed how they were made and how they were composed and so on. Actually, I had that idea because I had read some time ago that if you want to write like some writer, you just first need to copy them. And I thought that if that probably works with writers, why not try it with the essays?
Okay, very interesting. So, and that's a strategy that I'm hearing more and more successful students share. So you basically you found reports, you found essays, and you copy them out word for word, and then try to reproduce what you were copying when you went to write it by yourself.
Yes, that's right.
Now, if we were just to focus for a second on the listening and the reading. Now, before we started the recording, you were telling me that you've had quite a history with the English language, and I suppose that was probably the real thing that contributed to you getting almost perfect in listening and a perfect score in reading. Would you say that's about accurate?
Yes, I would agree with that because even though I haven't studied English at school or some other courses for probably last 6 or 8 years, I still used English a lot in reading and watching tons of TV series or just movies. And I would say that my preferred language for reading now is English. So if I'm interested in some book, I first look up the English version and then a Russian translation or some other language translation. And I think that that's what helped me mostly with reading, because I do read on multiple topics which do not only include my the topics that concern my professional development, but also other areas of interest. So I was quite prepared for the test because the first text there was on online business, online sales, and that's a subject that I hear and read a lot about at work. Mm-hmm. And the second text was about some research of birds population in the UK, and that's what I probably could look up on Wikipedia or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So the text was quite clear for me as well. And the third one was quite tricky, but it was the text about different concepts of language and its relations to anthropology, and that's what also interests me a lot. And I probably had read some books or articles on those topics. So if I were to summarize my experience here and to probably give some advice, it would be to I don't know, switch on to English as your preferred English as your preferred language for learning about your topics of interest. Mm-hmm. And the more you read about all the things in the world, the more prepared you get for the exam.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds that so you had a tech article, which was the online business. You had something about nature, which was about birds, I suppose, and then something sort of related to science/history with the concepts of language. And what you're saying is that these are topics that you had previously had some experience reading about because they're in areas that you have some personal interest in, and you had read texts like this before.
Yes, that's right. Probably not about really birds per se, but I might have looked up something on different animals or something like that. So the words, the scientific language about animals and the populations, the research wasn't new for me. Yes.
Okay, and so it sounds like the fundamental strategy that you're suggesting is to try to, as much as you can, operate in English from in your day-to-day life. Would you say that the same is true for the listening?
Yes, I agree with that as well, because I think what helped me mostly is that I watched a lot of movies and TV series in English. I also listened to English songs, and I think that what also helped me is that at work I participate in conference calls with my colleagues from other countries, and even though they are not usually native speakers, I think it's still very helpful to listen to different accents, to actively listen, I might say, because you need to understand what they're talking about to provide your input and so on. And that different accents are not surprise, and you can understand different topics like everyday communication or probably something more specific.
Okay, interesting. Now, you had mentioned in your email to me that you had watched the strategies that were shared by two other successful IELTS candidates, Vidit and Toby. So how did they fit into your strategy, and did you follow any of the same ways of engaging the examination that they share?
Um, uh, it's a good question, because that video was one of the first that I watched, so it was more like inspiration, and I think it has melted now with some other videos that I watched after that. But the trick that I remember from their speaking is for listening, that when they tell you about the tasks themselves, and you have some seconds to read the questions, and you need to go straight to the third section, as it's more difficult.
Right.
So yeah, that was the tip that I definitely learned from them. But as for others, not sure that I can point some singular tips, but the video in all was very inspirational for me.
Would there be anything else that you would suggest students do?
Yes, I also downloaded some podcasts from BBC Discovery on scientific subjects to listen before the exams in the following days. Just to get used to the British accent again, and to listen to some scientific subjects. And I think it also was very helpful to have some amount of listening before the exam. And I think that while you can do your usual tasks and work, you can still listen, and you will collect those necessary hours.
Okay. So BBC Discovery podcasts. Now, my last question for you regarding listening and reading. So you share the strategy of engaging lots of mock tests, and that's a pretty standard strategy for successful students. Is they engage mock tests, they go into the examination with the general idea of how they're going to perform in the exam, because they've done so many mock tests. So where were you getting these mock tests from? Were they out of the Cambridge books, or were you searching for them online? What was the source there?
I searched for them online, and I think that I tried some tests on the official site probably, and some other sites. So I think that The first place where you need to go is just to search online, probably to find what you can there. Well, if you don't want to spend much money on textbooks or some other courses, but for more thorough preparation, I would probably buy or enroll to some online course where you can try many of these tasks, and you don't need to spend time on finding them yourself.
Okay, and was that a strategy that you did follow though, or was there a specific online course that you engaged?
No, I didn't follow any online courses. I just tried out the tests that I found elsewhere on different sites. So it was just. I don't remember any specific site because they were really random, but still
Okay.
they had transcripts and tasks, and so I could quite well imagine what it would be at the exam and what were the tasks, what were the time requirements, and so on.
Okay, terrific. And those mock tests that you were doing, you were placing band 8, band 9 on those mock tests? If you can remember.
Yeah, I think something around band 8,
Okay.
because as I wrote in my account on the forum, I had some problems with true false or not given kind of questions for reading, and so that was the area for my further research on tips and tricks.
Okay, terrific. Well, whatever you did, it worked because you scored perfect band 9 and band 8.5, and you can't ask for much better than that. Okay, now let's move on to, we're jumping around a little bit, but if we just go back to the writing section for a second. Now,
Okay.
you told us the preparation strategy that you followed, which is very clear, very straightforward. It's also very standard. A lot of successful students do the same. So they're copying band 9 example responses, and then they're trying to emulate some of the language that they see and some of the structure that they see in their own writing. So why don't you tell us a bit about the actual exam itself, the writing exam itself, maybe about the questions that you received, how you approached them, and maybe just about the experience as a whole.
Yes, sure. Well, the first essay topic was the description of a map, and it was lucky enough because I studied the map's description just the day before, so it was quite fresh in my mind, and I just wrote it in one go, and I think I wrote the first part in the first 20 minutes as it was required. I had more difficulties with the second part, which was, if I remember correctly, well, the question was about consumption of energy and the means to reduce it was to propose the companies to stop work for one day, and I think it was a kind of essay where you need to weigh pros and cons and give your opinion in the end.
Okay, and so was it more of a advantages disadvantages sort of essay? Was it that style?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that was that.
Okay, terrific. So let's just jump back one sec to the task one. First of all, what was the map? Was it a map of an actual country, or was it a made-up town, or what was it?
It was a map of a town, probably even real, and there were three maps which showed the development of this town from 18th century to the 20th century, and well, it changed, and there were new types of city districts and so on.
Okay, that sounds actually quite challenging because that would test your ability to describe spatial things in English, and it would also test your ability to talk in terms of time and deliver a response chronologically. And so, how did you end up structuring your response? Did you allot a paragraph to each of the maps, or did you kind of group them together?
I I allowed a paragraph to each of the parts. But I introduced a comparison in each of the paragraphs. It was like when I described the second map, I wrote that in contrast to the 18th century, you can see that the residential area northeast of the river developed a lot and now is twice as large and so on. So I think I incorporated both time language and comparison.
Okay, great. And it sounds like you used quite a bit of cohesive language to link all of these ideas together, which I'm sure the examiners, obviously they picked up on that because they awarded you band 8. Now, if we go to the task 2 for a second, so you mentioned it was an advantages, disadvantages type of question. What sort of structure were you following there? Did you separate it into the 4 paragraphs, or how were you approaching it there?
I think I here wrote a couple of questions for introduction of the problem. Then I went to advantages of this proposed solution, then to disadvantages, and in the end I wrote a short summary and proposed another solutions.
Okay, great. Now that's more or less what I was wanting to get out of your writing task. Is there anything else that you want to share about the writing section that you think could be helpful to students?
Yes, actually, what surprised me is that other students really had time to prepare well. To plan, because for me it was like writing in one go and correcting while I write. Of course, for the second part, I had a couple of ideas and arguments, and I mapped them first. But again, I didn't think much about the structure, so I just wrote, and I wrote that in time, but very, very barely in time. So if I would do something differently next time, if I ever need to pass the exam, I would try out to write the essay in those 40 minutes, and I would also try to show it to someone to look at it and to point out my mistakes.
Now let's talk about the speaking section. And so you scored band 7, and you had mentioned that part of your strategy was you just engage speaking whenever you can and with whomever you can. So when you were in the exam, why don't you tell us a bit about the experience? Where was the examiner from? What sort of questions did you have, and what was on your cue card?
Yes, the examiner was actually Russian, and the questions that I had was first about my job, and then when it was that 2 minutes talk, it was about my big plans, and if I had to describe some of my plans for the future, and then the following discussion was on that topic of planning and probably some plans for retirement, something else like this.
Mm-hmm. And so what sort of feeling did you have in the examination room with the examiner? Was it a warm feeling, or was it a little bit uncomfortable, or?
I would say that I was pretty nervous because my English is, well, at least spoken English is a bit rusty, because I hadn't had much practice in the last couple of years. So another thing was that I didn't prepare for this part of the exam. So even though I knew the format of it, I didn't know exactly how I would fit in. And I think part of my mistakes was that I talked too long about my future plans, but not exactly my plans, but well, my introduction was too long and it took almost all the time. Actually, it would be interesting to learn and understand what were my mistakes, but unfortunately, I don't have such opportunity. So it's my only suggestion. Well, on what could have lowered my band is that I didn't follow the format as it was expected from me.
Yeah, perhaps it could have been something as well. You know, when you're given the cue card, I don't know if you feel this was true or not, but you have 3 or 4 things that you're supposed to deliver, 3 or 4 small details in relation to your response. And if you don't deliver those details within the 2-minute period, I mean, if you're being long-winded and you continue to 3 or 4 minutes, I'm not sure. Maybe the examiner would see that as a student that's not capable of speaking concisely.
Yes,
Yeah.
probably.
So, okay. Okay, but that's a very interesting account of your experience on the examination. So listening band 8, reading band 9, writing band 8, speaking band 7. I know lots of people are going to listen to this and feel very inspired and be motivated to work hard and try hard on their examination. So we're kind of coming to the end of the interview, and if you were to address a student right now that's listening to you speak and they're at band 6 and they've been at band 6 for the past half year, what would you suggest that they do to improve their mark to a level similar to what you have?
Yes, I think that if a student has already taken the exam and they understand the structure and what they need is probably to have more of practice, but not for exam, just for general speaking and reading and probably writing. So I would encourage those students to watch lots of TV, lots of movies that they like, to read the books that they like, to look up any subjects in their areas of interest on the internet. And I think that those who learn English have a very big advantage, because almost any topic you can find, on almost every topic you can find much more information in English than in any other language, and I think that students should use it. And well, at least I think that looking up and reading about the subjects that are interesting to you and that touch you in some way, and this allows you to consecrate much more time than when you think of it as a necessary study and not something that pleasant.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you for sharing your experience today.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for this interview, and I hope this will be useful for other students.
Thank you for downloading from IELTS.com. Have you achieved an overall band of 7 or higher on the IELTS exam? Why not contribute to the podcast? Contact Ryan at his blog, IELTS.com.